Europe was divided by ideology and steel. Every major power raced to develop its own main battle tank, a machine that would define its army's strength and doctrine. For France, that tank was the AMX-30, a machine born not from brute force, but from philosophy. It was a tank that embodied speed, agility, and intelligence over sheer armor and firepower. This is the story of the AMX-30, France's answer to the tank race of the 20th century. When World War II ended, France had to rebuild not just its cities but its military power. The lessons of the war were fresh. German panzers had crushed Europe under their treads, and the Allies had responded with armor of their own. By the 1950s, the French military wanted a new tank, one that could replace the aging fleet of wartime relics and compete with the new Soviet armor rolling out of factories east of the Iron Curtain. At first, France didn't plan to go it alone. Together with West Germany and Italy, they formed a collaboration to design a standard European tank. The idea was to build a shared machine that could unify NATO's armored forces. But as with many multinational defense projects, visions differed. Germany wanted heavier armor and better protection. France prioritized mobility and firepower. The partnership broke apart, and out of that separation, two distinct tanks were born, the German Leopard 1 and the French AMX-30. The AMX-30 was officially adopted in 1966. From the very beginning, it stood apart. Where other tanks grew heavier and slower, the AMX-30 was light and fast, weighing just 36 tons compared to its heavier counterparts like the British Centurion or the American M60. The French engineers believed that no matter how thick you made the armor, a modern anti-tank round could penetrate it. So why weigh the tank down with heavy protection? Instead, they decided to give the AMX-30 the ability to move, strike, and evade. This design philosophy was bold, even controversial. But it defined the tank's character. Its armor, made of cast steel, offered protection against small arms and shell splinters, but it wasn't meant to withstand direct hits from tank guns. The trade-off was mobility, and in that, the AMX-30 excelled. At its heart was a 720 horsepower Hispano-Suiza HS-110 diesel engine. For a tank weighing under 40 tons, that gave it an impressive power-to-weight ratio. The AMX-30 could reach speeds of up to 65 km per hour on roads, and even off-road, it maintained agility most heavy tanks could only dream of. Its suspension system and compact design allowed it to traverse rugged terrain, climb steep slopes, and maneuver with grace across battlefields. But mobility alone doesn't win battles. The AMX-30 needed a weapon worthy of its name, and it had one. The centerpiece of its firepower was the French 105mm CN-105F1 gun, a highly accurate rifled cannon capable of firing a range of ammunition, including high explosive and armor-piercing rounds. What made it especially formidable was its use of the OCC-105F1, Obus G, round, a high-velocity, fin-stabilized shell with a shaped charge capable of piercing up to 400 mm of armor at any range. Unlike kinetic rounds that lose penetration power over distance, the Obus G maintained its punch. In practice, that meant the AMX-30 could destroy even the toughest tanks of its era, T-55s, T-62s, and other Soviet designs, from long distances. Its gun was paired with a sophisticated fire control system for its time, giving the commander and gunner excellent targeting capability. The secondary armament added versatility. A coaxial 12.7mm machine gun was mounted alongside the main cannon, and a 7.62mm machine gun sat atop the commander's cupola for anti-infantry and anti-air defense. Later versions replaced or enhanced these setups, keeping the tank competitive across decades of service. When it entered service, the AMX-30 quickly became the core of France's armored divisions. Its lightweight meant it could be easily transported, repaired, and deployed in varied conditions, from European plains to desert environments. In NATO exercises, the AMX-30 earned respect for its speed and accuracy. But as armored warfare evolved, so did the AMX-30. The first major upgrade came with the AMX-30B in the early 1970s. This version featured improved optics, a new transmission, and refined electronics. In the 1980s, France introduced the AMX-30B2, a comprehensive modernization. The B2 variant added a laser rangefinder, a new fire control computer, better stabilization for the main gun, and even a new suspension system. It also received a more efficient engine and upgraded transmission, making it smoother and faster. The AMX-30B2 turned a once mid-century tank into a modernized fighting machine, one capable of holding its own even as newer tanks like the Leopard 2 and M1 Abrams entered the field. It remained in frontline service through the 1990s and beyond. The AMX-30 wasn't just a national weapon, it became an export success as well. Nations like Saudi Arabia, Greece, Spain, Venezuela, and Qatar all purchased variants of the tank. France even developed specialized versions, like the AMX-30D for recovery, the AMX-30H for engineering tasks, and the AMX-30 Roland, equipped with surface-to-air missile systems. In combat, the AMX-30 saw real-world action that tested its philosophy. One of the most notable uses came during the Gulf War in 1991. The French army deployed the AMX-30B2 as part of Operation Daguet, France's contribution to the coalition forces. In the harsh desert of Kuwait and Iraq, the AMX-30B2 proved its worth. Its lightweight made it easy to maneuver through the soft sands, and its gun was more than capable of knocking out Iraqi armor. The French units, working alongside American and British forces, destroyed numerous enemy vehicles and captured hundreds of prisoners without suffering a single tank loss. It was a powerful validation of France's design choices. Yet, the same strengths that made the AMX-30 agile also limited its future potential. As tank technology evolved toward greater protection and digital integration, lighter armor became a liability. Modern battlefields demanded tanks that could survive hits from advanced kinetic and tandem charge munitions. By the late 1990s, France had developed its true next-generation tank, the Leclerc, which would replace the AMX-30 in active service. Still, the AMX-30's legacy didn't end there. In many countries, it continued to serve for decades, often modernized, refitted, and adapted for new roles. For smaller nations without access to the latest Western armor, it remained an effective and reliable main battle tank. Looking back, the AMX-30 represents a fascinating era in military design, one where philosophy mattered as much as firepower. It wasn't a tank built to slug it out toe-to-toe with a Soviet heavy, it was built to outthink and outmaneuver. Its design reflected France's independent military doctrine, one that valued strategic flexibility and self-reliance over brute strength. Every contour of the AMX-30, from its sloped turret to its powerful 105mm gun, tells the story of a nation determined to chart its own course in the armored world. It was not the heaviest, nor the most protected, but it was intelligent, fast, and deadly accurate. Even today, when you see one on display, whether in the Musée des Blindés in Sommer or preserved in military bases around the world, it stands as a reminder of how innovation often means choosing a different path. The AMX-30 wasn't the biggest tank of its era, but it was one of the most distinctive. Its creators understood something profound. In the dance of modern warfare, agility and precision can be just as lethal as armor and brute force. And for decades, that philosophy rolled across the battlefields of Europe and beyond, carried proudly on the tracks of the AMX-30, the French knight of steel and speed. Even as it fades into history, the AMX-30 remains an icon, a machine that captured the essence of French engineering: daring, elegant, and unafraid to be different.